And we are live on this Tuesday off day as the Los Angeles Dodgers head to Queens, tied at 1 game apiece in this best of 7 NLCS. Carlos, we have a lot to digest from the first 2 games we're going to talk about where the team stands going forward. We'll recap games 1 and 2, especially game 2, getting into all the bullpen stuff. But before we get into all that, let's get and thank our sponsor, BetOnline. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. Think you know your stuff? Get in on our $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of that $200,000. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on our game of blackjack, poker, or unwind with one of our over 150 slot games. Head to the website today and get in on the action. Bet online. The game starts here. And before we start diving into it, Roger, let's remind everybody what they have to do when they see these videos, what they have to do when they come across our channel. What milestone are we extremely close to that we may even hit during this live?
We are mere couple subscribers away from 10K. So obviously thanking all you guys who have come by, check out the videos. But if you're just stopping by, hey, hit a like, make sure you subscribe because we keep dropping these pre and post game podcast episodes. And we're also, whenever the Dodgers are speaking in the postseason, we're putting that up there. I've been putting up some of the other teams, the Padres and Mets. I know some of you guys don't like it, but I personally like it because I want to know what these guys are talking about, what they're thinking. That's the reason I like to put those videos up and just kind of get a feel for them. And I hope you guys enjoy that as well. Just check it out, check out what they have to say. If you don't want to, just pass it by, right? But yeah, we're close to 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, so we appreciate all the likes, all the the thumbs up, the subscribing. Just keep it up.
Yeah, we've exponentially been growing this entire season. It's been awesome. A lot of the work behind the scenes, a lot of dedication from everybody that's involved. You've seen them sporadically throughout this entire postseason run so far. We've had new faces hop on this channel more often than not. And then we also have the website as well, DodgersBeat.com. I know myself as a writer and Steve Webb, Mike Salas, all the other guys that are on there as well. It's all interlinked, guys. You want to make sure you're checking out everything. Like Roger said, we have pregame, postgame, our opinions, our thoughts, and then we usually try to do these weekly lives more often than not. But Carlos, we're here in the NLCS. Games 1 and 2 have finally been completed, and this series is tied up at a game apiece. I know you said Dodgers in 5. After these first 2 games, is your prediction changing a little bit, or are you still confident the boys in blue sweeping in New York?
Well, I'm not going to change it. I'm not as confident. I still believe it could happen that we could still sweep in New York. Just the way the way Roberts decided to do the bullpen game versus using Buehler, that kind of threw me off with the way I thought things would go. But you know what? We have a series now. It's better this way. I mean, I know we want to win just like 9-0, 9-0, 9-0. That's great, but it gets kind of. I actually fell asleep in the first game. I was watching it. I got to like the 8th inning and I knocked out because it wasn't exciting. So not that I want to go 7 because it's going to be really stressful, but it does make it more exciting. Like when we were playing the Padres, and this will be the last time I bring up the Padres. It was fun. Remember I told you guys it's baseball, the bickering back and forth between the players and the fans and all this stuff going on social media, even with the Dodger players responding to other fans. So that makes it exciting. It might be petty, I guess, to some people, but it makes the game exciting, and that's what you want. So yeah, it would be nice to just sweep everybody, but this makes it more exciting. I know we'll get into the bullpen and our critique about the bullpen and how it was used and stuff like that. But yeah, we have a series on our hands, and I'm gonna stay with my Dodgers in 5.
Real
Yeah, I
quick,
think
real quick, Carlos. So last time Padre talked, right? Does this series does it feel different to you? And I know for me personally, it feels different watching it because I know with the Padre series, it was like every pitch, right? Every pitch meant something. Every at bat, like you were just so stressed out of every pitch. Now, I'm not saying like, oh yeah, the Mets are going to be a pushover or whatever, but it just feels so much different because of everything that has gone on with the Padres, right? Like we discussed like, oh man, we don't like this profile, we don't like this Machado. Like on the Mets, I don't really care, right? There's not one guy on their team that I'm like, I hate that dude, I don't like that dude, right? So it just feels completely different, and obviously, yeah, I'm hoping the Dodgers are gonna be able to take care of this series, right? But the Mets, obviously, they're a good team and they could come back and they could win this as well. But I feel if the Dodgers play their game, they're gonna win this series, right? If they let down, then they could lose this series, right? So it could go either way, but it just feels completely different than the Padres series. Does it feel different for you guys?
I mean, yeah, I definitely feel like Carlos already alluded to it. It does feel a little differently. I think most of it was because one, we didn't want them to lose in the first round again. I think we had that overshadow and overlooked in our mind. In the back of my head, I was like, I can't take 3 straight years of NLDS exits. I don't think I could do that again. And then the other hand is that it was the San Diego Padres. Not only is it a team in our division, but we made our thoughts wildly known on it. And I'm not even afraid to share, kind of, the unprofessional take, I guess, since we are like credentialed media, where I don't really like the Padres. I don't like the players. I don't like their fans. And that was made very apparent over this, the last 7 days last week. And they've made it known to us as well. Just two fan bases, two teams that just don't like each other. I have a lot of Mets fans that are friends with me. I'm on the East Coast. I'm in that area. Kind of just like, hey, I've just been like, yep, you have a good team. We have a good team. We're saving baseball right now. Viewership's at like an all-time high in like 10, 12 years for the LCS. So I'm like, all right, let's just play some good ball games, and whoever comes out on top, awesome. But at the end of the day, like Carlos said, want the team to win. I think these next couple games, now that it's this best of 7 is now a best of 5, and the Dodgers are kind of, the starting rotation is still a huge question mark in the bullpen. What are we going to do there? Runs are going to be at a premium on the East Coast with the weather, changing temperatures. We're talking about like a 30-degree temp drop. So we'll see what happens. But I think the games will get a lot more interesting, a lot more tense, especially being in New York. So that's just my thoughts on it right now.
Real quick, so Joe Man in the comments are saying what we're feeling is overconfidence. Now, I don't think it's overconfidence at all because, like I said, they can easily lose to this Mets team. I think what we're feeling is like I was confident they were going to beat the Padres, right? But it's just so much intense that you're playing a team that you see 15 times a year, and now you're playing a team that you see maybe 6 times a year. So you're not as invested in these two teams playing each other. But definitely, I mean, yeah, Mets could go. I mean, this series could be over, right? In these next 3 days, right? Either way, right? Mets could win all 3, Dodgers could win all 3. So it's not overconfidence. It's just like I said, it's just, I guess, because of familiarity with the Padres, it just feels so much different, so much invested in that series.
I kind of, you know what, and I know that Roger and I are usually on the same page, but I'm gonna kind of lean with Kenny and Joe Man, because if he wasn't overconfident, why would you put Landon Knack in the second inning compared to the last inning on that game in the Padres? We only used Landon Knack when the game was completely in our control. I think by that time he pitched, it was 8-0. And this time he puts him in second inning, or yeah, I think a second inning, we're winning 1-0. The game is still like we could still win this game. But then he puts him in and then he leaves him in, almost like if he was like, okay, we're gonna get it, we're gonna eventually catch up and somehow beat this team. And it was just the wrong mindset, in my opinion. And then also the fact that, Sean Manaea, he's actually pitched well. I'm sure Cody did. If you watch that Phillies Mets game when he pitched, he looked. I don't know if he changed his windup, but he didn't pitch like that before. So I was like, this is going to be a tight game. I knew Otani was going to struggle in this game because it was lefty lefty. I forgot about that matchup, and he did. So I see that there was like this like subconsciously Roberts was kind of like, I got this game. I think. I mean, that's how I see it based on that move alone.
Yeah, I mean, let's just get right into it because, like you mentioned, game one. We'll talk about it just real quick right here, and then we'll start getting into game two. Game one was pretty much everything went right for the Dodgers that day. They win 9-0, largest shutout win in Dodgers franchise history. Jack Flaherty shoves, goes 7 innings. Scoreless. They extend the scoreless inning streak to 33 innings. Tying an MLB record. Offense, I think they scored. Yeah, they scored every single run that game without a home run, which showed a lot. Senga didn't have anything early, and the Dodgers had really good at bats. So everything you wanted from a win to start off this series, especially after how they won Game 5 with a low offensive affair. Awesome, great start to the series. Your vibes are high for this game too. It's an afternoon game for Game 2. A little weird. We'll make it a little weirder and do a bullpen game again. And Carlos, I agree with you. I don't know. I think a reason why a lot of fans are either disappointed or angry or just confused is because they phrased it like they were going to pretty much go beat for beat what they did in Game 4 of the DS, where Roberts, even after the game, said, no, that was never really initially the plan. But if you're going to go with the bulk inning guy and Knack, I don't understand why you would just not just start Buehler this game and then have the bullpen game with your high leverage guys going in New York. From what it made it sound like on his post game, it seems like he's just betting on the player and the veteran Walker Buehler is to pitch in that environment. And, Yamamoto to also pitch in that environment because he's shown this season already when he went to New York against the Yankees that he could pitch well there as well. Bullpen game isn't going to be over. If this series goes 7 games, you're looking at a potential, Game 5 or Game 6 bullpen day. It really just depends on if the Dodgers are, I would say, up in the series or down in the series. That's what we'll decide. But it was confusing. Landon Knack in that spot right there. I agree with you. And I even put it in my pregame article before the game started. I said, hey, I know they say bullpen game, but if you can get off to a lead early and you can keep that lead, say 5+ runs, Ben Kasparius or Landon Knack can eat a lot of innings to where you don't have to use any arms in your bullpen, low leverage or high leverage. And Dave opted to go with Landon Knack in that second inning, and it backfired tremendously.
Yeah, and not only that.
Well, I was going to say, the whole bullpen game backfired from the first hitter, right? Lindor hits that home run, streak over, everything changed, right? From whatever they did in Game 4 in San Diego, it changed. So, I get, Knack probably wasn't the guy that you wanted to have out there, but he is on this team. He is going to pitch in a 7-game series. He has to pitch. I totally get that. Yeah, maybe they could have managed it a little bit different, but to me, it also comes back down to Dodgers still had a chance to win this game, even after the 6 runs they gave up. That's it. They gave up after that grand slam, they didn't score again, right? Dodgers had trouble scoring till the 6th, and then they had a chance. They had opportunities to win that game. So for me, that's encouraging as well, right? That they could get into the Mets bullpen, and they can score, and they've shown this in the first 2 games. So that's encouraging going forward.
Yeah, if you're going to take your little wins of this series, we mentioned it, off air in our chat, getting to the Mets bullpen in that type of game where they had a 6-0 lead, getting Diaz to come in, getting Stanek to come in, getting their high leverage guys to get that win. You could take that as a win. Carlos, overall feelings from the bullpen day. Did you go to the game or did you stay home?
As a matter of fact, you guys, I went to a bar in Little Tokyo. It's called Far Bar, and I went there because when Otani hits a home run, everybody gets free sake shots. So I was thinking, I didn't realize that it was a lefty. So I'm like, oh shit, he probably won't hit a home run. But I was hoping maybe he'll hit a home run off a bullpen guy. But yeah, it was a cool place, good vibe. Yeah, it was great. The food was inexpensive, and yeah, the drinks they're okay. But yeah, it was nice. So I didn't go to the game. I went there, and I felt like it was cool. I felt like being at Dodger Stadium. They're actually chanting inside the bar, so it was cool.
Well, so looking at the bullpen game, we already mentioned Knack. Obviously, that wasn't the right decision for Dave Roberts to go to, but he mentioned he couldn't go beat for beat, the way Game 4 went because, missing Daniel Hudson because he couldn't go back-to-back days. That's, strike 1 right there. Strike 2 is Alex Vesia, who has really good splits against both lefties and righties, can't be depended on because he's not on the roster right now. Dodgers, Dave Roberts said that they needed bulk innings from somebody, and it ended up being Brent Honeywell who to do the blunt of the innings later in the game. And Landon Knack, I'm not going to shy away from it. It was a guy that I said, yeah, if you're going to start Game 4 starter right there, I believe in Landon Knack. He had a really good regular season for being, a sporadic starter for the Dodgers throughout the entire year, going in between AA or going in between AAA and the majors. I was confident that he could, get some big league outs in these types of games, and it just I think the whole game just started off the wrong foot because Lindor, hit a home run there in that first inning, kind of got the Mets off hot. And credit to Roger, like what he said, the Dodgers, they battled back in this game. The biggest issue besides the bullpen was the fact that the 1 through 5 hitters went a combined 0 for 19. And I just don't think that can happen. Otani's in a little funk. Besides like 2 games from Mookie Betts in the DS, he's still kind of in a postseason, funk. Max Muncy, I mean, I feel like he only hits garbage time home runs. And then when, you really need him to clutch up, he's just swinging over fastballs. And then even, postseason hero Kike Hernandez couldn't come through twice, back-to-back innings. He had pretty much the game on the line for him if the Dodgers were going to, come back and win or at least tie it, and ended up going 0 for 2. Can't happen. Can't let that happen in Queens because, being in a hostile environment in New York, the fans are going to let you hear it. So it's going to be a big test for this team, especially tomorrow.
Yeah, more on the hitting and some more numbers on the hitting. So the 7 through 9 guys, they're doing the best. They're hitting 278. One thing that's consistent from the NLDS and NLCS, the Dodgers batting average as a team was 228 on the NLDS and 222 so far in this series. So yeah, we can't have that. I mean, I understand that in the postseason, pitching gets, there's a higher level of pitching because they're more focused. I get it's going to be tough to get hits, but man, we only have right now. We have these are playoff numbers. We have 2 guys just batting 300. It's Edman batting 303, 333, and Kike batting 313. After that, it's Freeman at 273, and then everybody else is 250 and below. So yeah, we got to figure it out. I don't know. We got to definitely manufacture runs because I'm not worried about the environment because I don't think it gets worse than Petco Park. I mean, maybe there's more people that's the capacity is higher at is it it's Citibank, right? It's a Citibank.
Citibank, yep.
I was about to say Shea Stadium, but I forgot. Anyway, so yeah, other than Petco Park, I don't think it gets any more hostile than that. So I'm not worried about that. So if that's what was one of the reasons why they wanted to put Buehler to start Game 3, I don't. That's not a good reason for me. I don't want to go back to the bullpen stuff, but I'm just listening to some of the comments. You guys were saying about that they wanted someone who can be under control in this type of environment. But I don't buy that.
Yeah, the only other thing I see is that the argument that I heard from Dodgers talk radio and all around is, you don't want to show your hand too early, and the Dodgers haven't gone with a single one of their high leverage bullpen arms this series yet in these first 2 games. Now it's like I mentioned already, this best of 7 turns into a best of 5. 3 games in Citi Field and then 2 games back at Dodger Stadium if it comes to that. Obviously, these next 3 games, no reliever this year is pitched in back-to-back-to-back days. That could be asked upon some of these arms in this next stretch of games, especially if Yamamoto can't give you length, especially if Buehler can't give you length. I think hidden in between the lines in this is that the Dodgers just don't want to tip their hand early. Statistically, if you see an arm more and more times, you're going to start, getting more information. You're going to see those guys better. And I think the Dodgers would rather have the Mets see, Blake Trinan, Evan Phillips and Michael Kopech and among others less in these next 5 games because that just gives them the advantage. Because if you're going to go bullpen for bullpen, the Dodgers have the advantage over the New York Mets. If you're going to go lineup for lineup, it's even right now, but I'm telling you, I think Otani is due to wake up. I mean, we need him to wake up if the Dodgers are going to accomplish their ultimate goal this season. But yeah, I think that's where, if you're going to say Dave Roberts and the Dodgers were punting the game, because a lot of people say, hey, this is on Dave Roberts. Guys, they planned this. The front office, everybody, they were talking about this. This is what they wanted. They think they are in best position. They say it's a best of 7 for a reason. The players reiterated that in their post-game interview, saying, this is a very good team over there. If you thought we were going to roll over them in, 3 or 4 games straight and go to the World Series, that's just not going to happen. So I'm confident with Buehler taking the mound. I know his stat line with 6 earned runs in San Diego doesn't look pretty, but we all watched that game. it was much different than the 6 runs that were on his baseball card. He pitched really well, especially after that defensive blunder in the 2nd inning. He kind of shut down the Padres and set up the bullpen game for the day after that. So confidence level, Carlos, in Buehler for game 3.
Yeah, no, I agree with that assessment about, his last outing. Yeah, his box score shows, his line shows 6 runs. He should have really allowed 2 runs, but I get it. I get it. Mental mistakes are not going to show up as errors on the scoreboard, on the scorebook, so that's fine. But yeah, I'm confident that he's going to pitch well. I hate going back to this, but I have to go back to it again. I remember when Robert said something about using his guys because he didn't want to give him such a break, right? He said, "Oh, I used them because they needed to get some innings in." Well, keep in mind that a lot of those guys, Phillips, uh, Kopech, I think as well, and for sure Trinan, they haven't pitched for 5 days. When they pitch tomorrow, if they pitch, that's 5 days. I hope hopefully the rest does them well, not they don't come out rusty. So I don't. I mean, he's kind of contradicting himself from the previous series to this series, but he's the man with the plan. So I don't know. I don't want to second guess him, but I'm just looking at what he had said before. But yeah, I'm confident in Bueller. I think Bueller will come out. Like I said, I don't think the hostile environment, this level of the game, this stage of the game doesn't fade Bueller. That's what I do like about Bueller. He's a gamer, and he doesn't he doesn't really care about this kind of like if they boo him or they clap or it gets so loud if they get a hit, whatever. I think Bueller's a guy for that type of situation.
And Roger, kind of get your thoughts on the bullpen game for game 2, because I just think the whole day was weird. The game time was weird for everybody, including East Coasters like me. I was at work. Everybody that I know on the West Coast was primarily at work as well. It's hard to play a game in a day game. I think if you've watched Dodgers baseball this entire year, you really know getaway days just aren't the Dodgers' favorite days to play games. And they even mentioned it on the radio broadcast where they were like, "Man, this looks like a regular season game. It seems like the Dodgers are treating it that way." Do you agree with the way they managed this game too to set them up for, I guess, the next 5 games?
So real quick, we hit our goal 10K. So thank you guys, appreciate that. So let's go continue with that, right? Yeah, I mean, one thing that I've noticed too of like Roberts and the way he speaks, like in his post game, press conferences, if they lose one game, right, he's always saying stuff like, he's trying to keep that game under control as much as possible, right, to within reach, but also he's not going to like use his high leverage guys, right, if he knows it's potentially they might lose that game, right. So he always says he's thinking of that game, but he's thinking of the next game and the next game and the next game, how they're going to deploy these guys over the next couple of days and obviously the next day. So I think going into this game, they're obviously thinking about that. They're thinking, what are we going to do in New York? How are we going to set that up, and potentially what's going to happen in this game if we use all these guys? Are they going to be available right for New York and game 3, game 4, etc. So I think that's the difficult part in trying to manage these games, because you could have deployed all your high leverage guys out there, in game 2, but being down 6-0, do you really want to deploy all those guys, at that time? And then potentially, they get an off day, but like you said, it's 3 back-to-back games, right? How that's going to be the tricky part. How are they going to manage that bullpen for the next 3 games?
Yeah, and my last thoughts on the bullpen before we start moving on to potential game 3. It's just that it's what you mentioned, the back-to-back days. That's something that they have to look into because, like I said, none of the relievers have pitched in multiple days in a row like that, and you're gonna kind of have to ask for them to do that. I think where it gets confusing is it's just that they had an off day today, so they had right after the game, it was a day game, so pretty much from there after that, they get on the flight, they get to New York, and then they have this entire day to rest. I don't understand why you wouldn't want to just use your relievers, because even Joe Man puts in the chat, I don't buy what Dave Roberts said in his post game either, where they said, well, why didn't you go beat for beat or, the game plan in game 4 of the DS? And his response was, I would have ran out of pitchers. You have 13 pitchers on the roster. I think you would have been fine if you go for 1 pitcher per inning, you would get it. And then who's to say you don't get a pitcher like to go 1 and 2/3 or 2 innings? You could have made it a more competitive game. Landon Knack just laid an egg. You have to bet on the player. Like I said, I'm not going to shy away from it. I thought Landon Knack, was built for the postseason. He proved that all regular season, but he kind of just put the team in a hole early. And then once you see 6-0 on the scoreboard, you mentioned all the things we've already talked about, where the multiple games in a row, the outlook for the starting rotation, the offense and the way it's playing right now. I don't want to say you should punt a postseason game, but the Dodgers kind of just did it to themselves because they didn't even start pushing, runs across into the 5th or 6th inning of the game. So when you put your team in a hole that way, you have to, as a manager, fans may not like it, but you have to start thinking ahead because, like we said, it's a best of 7 for a reason. So, just like the regular season's a marathon, you got 162 games. It's the same thing with this series. Like I said, I didn't think the series was going to end in 4 games. I have it going at least 6 games. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes 7. And you have to manage your pitching staff like that, right? Right, Carlos?
Yeah, yeah, it's tough because just listening to what you're saying and then what Robert's saying, it sounds like he doesn't have confidence in his starting pitching either. So if he's saying I don't want to use all my guys up, well then that means that he's predicting that his starting pitchers are only gonna go like 4 or 5 innings. And I know that's been typical of the season, but I mean don't I mean you gotta be a little more optimistic about your guys. So yeah, I think it was just the wrong move. I think Bueller was on normal day rest. If he would have pitched, he would have been on like his 5th day, so that would have been good. And then yeah, then you have the bullpen game on Wednesday, and I would use my high leverage guys to try to win that game. So and if we did, it'd be 3-0, and then we would win one other game. That's why I said 5 game series. But now that he totally changed that and said, you know what, I'm going to go with the bullpen game, and I'm not going to use my high leverage guys for whatever reason. We lose home field advantage. I think somebody in the chat mentioned that we did, and which is, whether we like to admit it's important. Maybe in other sports it might be more important, but it's still nevertheless it's important. We shouldn't give up home field advantage. We got to win at home. They always say, right? The playoffs start or the team has the advantage when they win the road game. Well, the Mets won the road game. The Mets do have the advantage. So, like I said, I mean, anything can happen. We could still win 3 games, but in the same token, the Mets can just win the 3 games and they don't have to come back to LA. So yeah, I'm just not happy with that game at all. And you're right. I was at the bar. It was 6-0. I was like, oh shoot, and we're about to leave. But yeah, it was a nice vibe, and I wanted to stay. So we made it to like the 7th inning, and we finally left. And I said it's when they had that one inning where they had bases loaded. They scored some runs. They had the bases loaded again with 1 out, and then Mr. October grounds into a double play, and then that was basically kind of the end of the game.
Yeah, and that kind of leads into the next part where we're going to start looking ahead in this series. I already mentioned it, in game 2, the top 5 of the Dodgers order went a combined 0 for 19. Can't have that happen if you want to win, the next 3 games to get to the World Series. They also went 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position, and they left 10 men on base. You mentioned the biggest part of the ball game where I figured that was probably the Dodgers' last chance was when Kike Hernandez grounded that double play with the bases loaded. Narrowly, Pete Alonso, Polar Bear Pete, just stretching his thick legs over there and keep his foot on the bag to just get that double play. That kind of sealed up the game for me, in my opinion, just because the Dodgers just couldn't get anything across up there as well. Offense has to wake up in New York. Otani, he's having a weird postseason. I wrote about this today on DodgersBeat.com. 0 for 19 with the bases empty. But with runners on, he is 6 for 8 and is even better with runners in scoring position. His OPS balloons to like, I think 15. I don't know how to explain it. Otani doesn't really know how to explain it. He said it was more, if you want to check out the interview we have, it's on the channel now, where he just wants to command the strike zone a little bit better. Against Manaea, especially that first at bat, it was an embarrassing at bat. You wouldn't even think it was Otani up there, kind of just flailing the bat. But Mookie Betts, like I said, has to get it going. But another guy that really needs to get it going, I don't know if the Dodgers are going to have to make a change one day, maybe substitute him or move him way down the order. That's Will Smith. Will Smith is like silent. Besides that home run he hit against San Diego, he only has 2 hits this postseason. He's hitting, .087, OPS under 5. I mean, I don't know how long the Dodgers, I commend him for, being able to control the run game. He caught every single one of those innings in the scoreless inning streak. Obviously, he's made strides on defense, but offensively, this entire season has just not been it for Will Smith, Carlos. Do you just keep running out Smith out there in the 5-hole, or if you're Dave Roberts, do you have to make a change? Does Austin Barnes get a start, or do you move down Will Smith to like the 8th or 9th hitter in the lineup?
Well, I will say is that the short answer is no on Barnes, but I will say that typically, when there's a night game and the next day there's a day game, the catcher never plays, never starts a game. So I'm surprised that they didn't start Barnes. I thought they would, especially since like a lot of people said that the Dodgers seem to be playing like a regular season game. What I didn't like is I didn't like how they swapped players around. Like I think it was Edman over. I forget the swaps, but there was a few. There was Smith over Muncy in the second game. I think they changed it. I just felt that they should just stick to the same lineup. I don't care who's pitching. I don't care if it's. I'm tired of these matchups. I've said it before. Play the guys. Just play the guys. Let them figure it out. These are your guys. You know, Unfortunately, the guys who are not playing, and I was watching Joe Man about Pajes. Look, Pajes is just, and I like the kid too, but I'm not saying that this is too big for him. I just think that he hasn't played enough right now in the last couple of weeks since the Padres series. That just getting him into the series right now doesn't make any sense. We saw it with Taylor as well. He played like one game after like a week, and he struck out 4 times. Unfortunately, you can't run these guys. I mean, you got to run your same 9 guys unless somebody gets hurt. And I know that Lux got hurt. I don't know if it's because of the stupid up bump or whatever they call it. I don't know why he got hurt, but so that did. I think we're not emphasizing, the importance on Lux right now because Lux has played really well and he's hit really well. So that did affect the team a little bit, and that's the reason why Pajes was starting in center field.
Yeah, I liked Pajes getting the start against the lefty. If you look at his regular season numbers, he's been dominant against, southpaws the entire season. He has a WRC plus way over, I think it was like 180 compared to, it's under 100 against righties. It made sense, but given the situation of these games, given, how high it can raise your blood pressure and the anxiety, especially being a rookie and getting a spot start, it's not the best situation to put a player, in my opinion. So I agree with that. I think the postseason is about, get your 9 hitters that you can ride or die with. Doesn't matter the situation, lefty, righty, switch hitter, switch pitcher, whatever you want to throw out there. Get your 9 guys and put them out there every day. Obviously, when I'm looking at the lineup, they already did it. They're already starting to do it. Kike Hernandez, they want to ride or die with him, start him every game in center field. So be it. Tommy Edman is that guy as well. I feel like, 3 for 4 Tommy Edman yesterday had like almost, I think like 3/4 of the Dodgers hits. He's been playing extremely well. Even Max Muncy, he's been taking better at bats, especially as the games have gone on this postseason. And then obviously you got your, the top of the order. They deserve to start every day as well. Smith, he has to figure it out if the Dodgers want to get better. Will he get dropped down the order? I'm not sure. It really just depends. Your issue with it is when they face a left-handed starter, because they did a couple flips. You mentioned the one with Smith and Muncy. Another one they did was with Freeman going from the 3-hole to the 4th spot. And they did it once or twice during the regular season. I understand it. They're just trying to break up the lefties and righties so that way you can go left, right. Instead of having, back-to-back lefties. That way Manaea doesn't, I guess, double up on guys, but it didn't work. Like Sean Manaea still pitched good against, lefties and righties. It doesn't matter where they bat in the batting order. I would like to see more of a simple approach. Just put the best hitters out there. This time of the season, I know statistics may say one thing, but this is the grind of, 7 games. Just get the best guys out there. So I don't think you can argue against that. Roger, do you have any issues of like the way the lineup's been constructed? Would you make any changes? Like if Smith's still struggling or if someone else is still struggling, would you make any changes?
I mean, like you said, it's kind of really hard to do those changes, especially like now that you're in the postseason, you're in a series, you have your guys that are going, and to put somebody out, you put Baez in there, he gets a couple at bats, but if he doesn't do anything, it's hard to say like, okay, let's put him out there again the next day and the next day, right? If he would have went out there and I know it's hard, like you said, you're now under this pressure of the postseason, but if he doesn't do it in that one game or whatever, right, it's really hard, like I said, to run him back out there. And same thing with the other guys, right, like Taylor or whoever, right? You kind of got to go with the guys that have been in there. Will Smith, you kind of figure he's gonna get his hits. Even if he doesn't get completely on track, I mean, you figure he's gonna get a hit here, and it could be a very big hit, right? Like he did, like he has we've seen already in this postseason. So I think you like you guys mentioned, you kind of got to just ride the hand that you have, um, and see what happens. But you know, the Shohei thing is crazy, right? Like, I mean, and guys just got to get on, right? You got to get on for Shohei when he comes up. Make sure that there's always guys on when he comes up, because if he comes up and there's guys on, you're probably getting a couple runs right there.
I can't explain the Otani thing. I really can't. My baseball mind just can't, picture it, can't fathom the stat line where he doesn't have a single hit without runners on. And it's weird. And it's because he is the leadoff hitter. He's the one that's supposed to be setting the tone. He is getting on base. I will notice, if one thing I've seen in these last games, especially in game 2, they are pitching around him. They are pitching him. They would rather walk Otani than let Otani beat them. And that is, I mean, that's what you're going to see in the postseason. They're going to take their chances with the next hitter, because Otani, especially against a righty, he's going to take his pitches. He's got good plate discipline. He'll take a walk if you're going to give it to him. But, we haven't seen him be aggressive on the bases, just because he hasn't had a chance to be on the bases without anybody there in front of him. So it is taking away half of his game. The reason that made him the National League MVP this year as a DH, with the 50 steals, or over 50 steals and over 50 home runs. But yeah, he's got to step up. That perfect way, you're starting the game off tomorrow and these next 3 games. I don't think they're going to make a switch. Some people said, well, why don't you move Mookie Betts back to the leadoff spot? I don't think they're going to do anything that drastic with the top of the order. I don't think it would make sense right now. Just ride him out there, and you hope Otani gets on base. Am I wrong, Carlos?
Yeah, no, it's funny because during the season we were saying the opposite. We were saying, man, Otani's so great when he comes up to bat and there's nobody on base. And now in the playoffs, it's just the opposite. Now he can't get a hit when there's someone on base. So I mean, I guess it's better to get hits when people are on base than when they're not. Uh, One of the only things that, watching Otani, this whole season, the amount of strikeouts he has is there's he strikes out a lot. Right now in the playoffs, he's striking out 44% of the time, almost half his at bats rate. So if he's gonna, if he's gonna bat, 4 times, he's gonna strike out 2 times almost every game. So and a lot of the hits really came in about 2 games. The first game of the series, I think both first games of each series, that those have been his best games. So Otani's got to figure it out, and yeah, they're not going to change it. Unfortunately, that's not what Roberts typically does. He's not going to do something so drastic like that. Not that I disagree; it might be a good thing, but I just don't see them doing it. Gabriel here thinks it's going to be the Yankees and Mets. I'm not sure if he's a Dodger fan, and maybe he's just, I don't know, but yeah, I don't think it's going to be the Yankees and Mets. I don't even know how the Guardians are doing, but I think the Dodgers can still pull this out. I think it's going to be Dodgers Yankees.
Let's keep those vibes going, Carlos, because we got game 3 tomorrow. Obviously, we're more than likely going to have a pregame show, so we're not going to go get into depth with the start. But the Mets are returning home. They are 46-35 at Citi Field this season. They're 2-0 in the postseason so far. They won both of their games. Their 2 only games at Citi Field against the Phillies, winning both of those to win the division series. They got Luis Severino, former Yankee, going on the round tomorrow. He has pitched pretty well this postseason. Both of his starts, he's went 6 innings, given up a handful of runs for the first start, and then 3 the next. Doesn't have a lot of strikeout stuff. Severino isn't really a super powerful arm, but he's going against Walker Buehler, who has kind of been up and down all season. Like we mentioned already, that 6-run inning, I don't really hold that against Buehler. I hold that more against the team as a whole. I'm surprised there hasn't really been any score changes, because I thought there maybe someone would have ruled an error somewhere and given him some help with the ERA there. Looking at this matchup briefly, must-win game for both clubs. That way you can take a lead in the series. Where do you see it kind of going tomorrow for this Dodgers offense against Severino? And then we'll touch back on Buehler as well.
Well, I think, first of all, that it's more of a must win for the Dodgers than it is the Mets, because we're on the road. That's one. So I think right now the guys from what we saw against the Padres, the guys, the players have definitely, brought their A game when it's time to win a game. So I believe that'll happen. I think Bueller will pitch well enough to, get through at least 5 innings. I think it'll be, I think it's going to be a high scoring game. I mean, when I say that, I'm not talking about 10-8. I'm talking about like, it's like 6-5, 7-4, something like that. But I think I'm confident in Bueller. Severino, I mean, he's a righty. I think somebody in the chat mentioned the Dodgers hit him well. I don't know all the stats on the batters' individual stats, but I just think for whatever reason with righties right now, we're looking okay. I know that statistically during the season we were better against lefties, but right now against righties, I feel confident. I feel confident because I think our best hitters have been, Freeman, who's a lefty. I w- I don't want to throw Muncy in there, but I want to throw Edmund definitely in there. He's been, he's a switch hitter and he's been awesome so far in this series. And I mean, Otani's got to break out. I think he definitely bats better against, righties and lefties, and we saw that was evident when we saw him bat against Manaya. So yeah, I feel confident that we're going to score some runs. I feel confident Bueller's going to get 5 innings. Yeah, think he'll get 5. I feel confident that the bullpen's rested and that the high leverage guys are going to be used tomorrow. It's just the question mark's going to be the next day. What's going to happen the next day when these guys are?
Yeah, for both teams, it's going to be all eyes are going to be on their starters because the Mets don't want to go to their bullpen more often than not, especially with 3 straight games being played. Their bullpen hasn't been the best this year. David Peterson, their best lefty reliever, who is actually a starter, I imagine they want to stay away from in this first game and use him in the next 2 games. That way, you can have the Dodgers say you win game 2 if you're the Mets. You want to use your best arms for those next 2 games. That way you have full advantage over the Dodgers in terms of pitching matchups. Roger, looking at this game coming up right now, you got Bueller going against Severino, 2 guys that have kind of battled, injury history more often for Bueller, especially missing, 18 months with Tommy John and then coming back this season. What are your overall expectations for Bueller? Because it seems like in his pregame, today's interview, he seemed very confident. He had a lot of fire in him in his start against San Diego, and I've mentioned it before. He has been known as a big game pitcher, and I still think he has that in him. I'm curious, what are your thoughts heading into this game?
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking, Bueller. That's what I'm going to think of Bueller, right? Big game pitcher, big moment, NLCS. So he's going to come out and like you said, all we've mentioned again, 5 innings, right? 1 or 2 runs. That'd be great. We've noticed this with Bueller though. Every time he's kind of gone out there, the defense has not helped him out, especially right in that San Diego game. In that San Diego game, hey, if he gets those couple outs, he maybe 2 runs, 3 runs tops, right in that game. So that's kind of what I'm expecting from Bueller. Go out there, give him it his all, right, and give him a chance to win this game. Whether it's 5 innings, 6 innings, they keep the runs down to 2 to 3 runs at max, and I think they got a real good shot. Getting back, Carlos, what you were saying about Severino, he's 0-1. He has a 10.5 ERA, but this comes from one matchup that they played the Yankees last season. He ended up giving up, I think it was like 7 runs in 4 innings, and as far as the guys that have seen him, it's not. I don't know if they've seen him, on other teams, but like Betts had, I think he had like 4 hits. He was 4 for 4 that game. Freeman didn't do anything. So Betts, Freeman, Smith, Muncy, those are the guys that have seen him. They saw him last year, so hopefully they're able to kind of do the same thing. Just get some runs off this guy, because I think the more the Dodgers can get to these Mets starters, the better it is, right, for this long series, because the Mets are going to have to get into that bullpen more and more and more, and I think that's definitely going to benefit the Dodgers.
I think another thing I'll end on with Severino is that, if you look at his inning pitch totals the past couple seasons, this is the most innings he's pitched in a long time. He's battled injuries. He's missed a lot of time when he was on the Yankees, which is the reason why he's no longer with the Yankees, because they even grew tired of the back and forth between the IL and missing time. That matters. Fatigue is hitting everybody right now, and if you don't have enough stamina to make these starts, it won't bode well for you. So, like I said, he had 6 innings pitched each of his first 2 starts. So we'll see what he does tomorrow. The Phillies, their offense was just ice cold. So I mean, make what you want with that 6 inning start against them. The Brewers, they've never been known as an offensive juggernaut either, and they didn't really do much in that game against him as well. So this is a whole different, lineup, whole different team that he's going to be facing, the best offense in the National League for a reason. So, but for Buehler, I mean, I won't get too much into it so we can start wrapping up for tonight. I think he's going to have his best start of the season tomorrow. I think he's primed and ready. I think he has the best defensive alignment going tomorrow for him because I love Tommy Edman at shortstop and Kike Hernandez in center is going to set them up well. Everything started from, a mental error from Miguel Rojas not flipping to Lux and then Manny Machado just being, an asshole and running on the grass. So as long as that doesn't happen tomorrow, Buehler should be fine because I want to see what we saw from him against the Braves. Pitch to contact, let your defense play, get some strikeouts when you need it. I would really like to see a 6-7 inning start from Buehler tomorrow. I know it's asking a lot, especially at this time of the year, but I feel like we've just been building for all the way up to this. This has been the mountain that Buehler has been climbing the whole season. And even Steve Sachs, all these other guys on the radio, they said this is the best he's looked. This is the most confident he's looked probably in 2 years.
Do we have an update on Lux?
He will play tomorrow for the most part, I believe. He does have that groin injury. He wasn't going to play yesterday because of lefty on the mound. It remains to be seen if he plays in game 5.
I think it was a hip flexor, no?
Like hip flexor, yeah. So Quintana will be going in the next couple days. That's a lefty. I mean, I would just say ride Lux out there. He has a home run off the lefty this postseason.
Yep.
We'll see what happens, but I imagine he'll probably sit that game, especially if he has a kind of get aggravated that injury today. But I think he's fine.
Okay. Yeah, because I think like I said, Lux is he's been clutch. He's been the X factor in this series and playoffs in general. So playing him, I like when Lux and Edmund follow each other. I just love that speed. The both guys can bunt, move each other around. It's just great. I think that's good 8th and 9th guy set up for Otani because Otani's only hitting when they get on base. Because if they don't get on base, Otani's gonna strike out. No, just kidding. But we definitely want these guys to get on. I like that combo. So like I said, Lux has secretly become like this kind of secret weapon. We want him in the lineup. So if you guys are saying he's going to show up, then that's great. I like that we have another lefty in the lineup for tomorrow's game.
Yeah, and then last thing to mention before we close it out, we'll touch on it briefly. I don't know if you guys saw on social media, Kershaw kind of alluded to it in yesterday's pregame show with Fox, saying that he's going to give it another go coming back for the 2025 season. He told Bill Plunkett today that he will be back next year playing baseball, and it will be for the Dodgers. So if you are a contract know it all and know the ins and out from the Dodgers, he does have, I believe, a 10 million player option that he can opt into. More than likely, he'll probably opt into it, especially if he has to get off-season toe surgery again. So quickly, Carlos, what are your thoughts on Kershaw coming back for potentially his final season?
For me, I like that he wants to finish his career with the Dodgers. I like that he wants to get to 3,000 strikeouts. I like that he doesn't want to finish his, season. Like the last thing we saw of him is him being injured and how his career ended. So that's good. I think I like it. He's not the same Kershaw, but he's definitely, it's nice. I mean, he's put so much time into the organization, to the Dodgers, and to the fan base. So yeah, why not give him a warm, like goodbye. Like he can have like the retirement tour when he goes to other stadiums. So I hope he announces that this will be his last season so that he could get that type of welcome where all the stadiums that he goes to.
Roger, your thoughts on Kershaw coming back?
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, right when you get to the off season, we saw what's happened with the Dodgers pitching this year. I think they're going to pile up on pitchers, right? They're going to have to get pitchers, right? So Kershaw's coming back, right? We don't know what's going to happen with Glass now. We know Stone's out for the year, so they're going to have to get an excess of pitchers, right? You just have to, and having Kershaw back is definitely a positive, right? He can get his 3,000 strikeouts, and kind of just help them out along the way. So it's definitely a positive. Bring them back potentially final season. We'll see, but it's a good thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll just wrap it up here now. We're approaching an hour now. Got game 3 tomorrow. Big game for the Dodgers. Hopefully they can go up 2-1. We will be back tomorrow, right, Roger, for another pregame.
Yeah. What's the game time tomorrow? What is it? Is it a 5
8,
or
8, 8 Eastern.
a
So
5? Yeah. So we'll try and go about 4 Pacific, 7 Eastern or so.
yeah, so we'll put everything out on social media, letting everybody know that wants to join us for the pre and post. But yeah, that does it for this episode of the Bleed Los podcast. We will see you guys tomorrow. And again, huge shout out to everybody that has subscribed to the channel and liked everything and putting it out there. Huge milestone, hitting 10,000 subscribers today. So we'll see you tomorrow. This episode is brought to you by Bet Online.